as I'm driving into the pits, I'm smelling gas. And all of a sudden, as I get into the pits up to my tow car, whoosh, it burst into flames. The flames were coming out from around the hood and all underneath the car. And I've got my full suit and helmet on. I get out, I pull my fire extinguisher out, and my gloves, I couldn't get the pin off the fire extinguisher, and somebody else ran up, a good buddy of mine with a big fire extinguisher, put the fire out, but it came back again, was trying to get the hood open, the fire flames all over. Oh, I'm gonna lose the whole car.
And I had recently added windscreens to my car that you'll see behind me. And on the first time out on the track, I'm going down the back straightaway and something big hits me in the chest, which first of all gives you a little bit of an alarm. I didn't see it coming, I didn't know what it was, and I looked and I noticed that the passenger side windscreen was missing. And it had come loose and hit me in the chest, which gives you a little bit of idea how scary sometimes these things are.
I recently had a great opportunity with a friend of mine to go up to Indianapolis Motor Speedway for a vintage race. And this is the first time for the event, and there were over 700 cars, vintage automobiles there, race automobiles. We had a terrific time. Bill Stelcher and I, Bill got me into racing years ago, and we met a number of years ago. I can't remember how many actually, but on St. Armand's when we both had businesses here. And so he got the bug in my ear, and eventually I purchased a car that was in a barn and needed a lot of restoration, so I restored that car, and with Bill's help and a number of other fellows, I was able to put the car back together and take it racing locally and work out the bugs. And as time has gone on, we've had it at Roebling Road up in Savannah and other dirt tracks and oval tracks around Florida, and use it for parades and special events out here at St. Armand's Circle, and had a ball with the car. It's fun to let kids sit in it, and we're so excited to get this invitation to Indianapolis that it was really a special deal.
I'm a vintage racer, and we race on several venues. We've done everything from hill climbs in the Carolinas to circle track racing throughout Florida. Rick and I both drive what are called pre-war cars. These are cars constructed and built before World War II. So it's a very special class. And people think when you say vintage racing that you include us, and they mostly don't. We're a separate class, and during the recent races at Indianapolis run by SVRA, it's the Sports Car Vintage Racers Association. I believe there were 11 different distinct groups.
In Indianapolis, it was challenging because we had never been on the track. Whenever you go on a new track, why, it's challenging to know the corners. You look at the map they give you, you try to anticipate the turns in your head, where you're going to go, what you're going to do. Well, our first practice run, first time on the track at Indy, Bill was out ahead of me with about 6 cars in line to go out on the track. I was 3 or 4 cars back of him in line to go out on the track at Gasoline Alley. And the front cars all left, but the 2 cars in front of me didn't leave. They weren't quite strapped in. The techs were telling them you had to do this and that, so they motioned me to go on around them. So I go around them. By the time I get out on the pit lane and heading down the straightaway, I didn't know exactly where I was going. I just headed down the pit lane, and I'm pedaling as fast as I can go, trying to catch up to the other cars on the first lap. And I come into the first corner, so hot, and I realized, oh, this is a hard right-hand corner. So I skidded around that corner, and I'm pedaling fast again, trying to catch up to the other guys. And by the time I got to the back straightaway, they were already down at the other end of that straightaway. And I had to hit the brakes again, slide around that corner. And I was kind of disappointed in my driving, but I couldn't catch up to them. And finally, I got up to them, and we did our first few laps and our practice laps. But it was a very challenging course.
It's a lot of fun, and it's an exciting thing. And I agree that it's one of the best things that happens is when we get the small children in the cars for pictures. We have a tradition of letting the kids get in the car and get their picture taken, because so many of the cars at car shows have big "do not touch" signs and "don't come near this car," "don't breathe on this car," and we're almost the opposite.
It is a lot of fun. And once you're out on the track, you forget about everything except your driving. You're focused totally on your driving. Nothing else is in your mind at all.